Ayan, ayan, ayan. Ayan, marami tayong pag-usapan na nagpa-interview na si Pangulong Marcos Jr. Finally, may legit interview na international talaga. At ito yung with Associated Press kanina na forward sa akin yung copy ng interviews. Of course, thanks to our journalist friends and contacts. At yan, medyo iba yung medyo parang critical yung sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. dun sa at least the conduct of the war on drugs of President Duterte. No? So, iba talaga. So, ito po yung interviews niya. Ito na. Nagiging interesting na yung politika natin. Ito nagpa-interview si President Marcos Jr. sa Associated Press, which based on some assessments is the most neutral media outlet out there in the world, or at least Western originated media outlets. So Associated Press po, may interview na ngayon. Recently na-release na po yung highlights ng interview ni President Marcos Jr. with Associated Press, and President Marcos talked about the reintroduction of the Philippines, more or less rebranding of the Philippines, and inevitably, dahil aware siya dito sa negative perception about the Philippines under President Duterte with respect to inter alia, with respect to the drug war, may ibang sinasabi si Pangulong Marcos dito na in fairness consistent dun sa mga sinabi niya sa panahon ng elections, but at the same time seems to be more openly divergent from and critical of yung conduct ng drug war ni Pangulong Duterte. So katulad ng sinabi ni President Marcos Jr. dito, his people, referring to dun sa mga tao, mga bata ni Pangulong Duterte in charge of the lethal drug war, his people went too far sometimes. We have seen many cases where policemen, other operatives, some were just shady characters that we didn't quite know where they came from and who they were working for. Pero ngayon daw, inaayos nila yan, but now we've gone after them. Alright, so ito talagang okay. And of course, President Marcos Jr. also talked about his meetings with a number of global leaders, including the U.S. President Joseph Biden, which of course is something that Duterte did not do. And I'm talking about a meeting in the United States, on U.S. soil, on the sidelines of UN General Assembly. Nakita din natin guys dito yung enthusiasm ni Marcos Jr. to meet yung mga Western leaders. I'm not sure if he really tried to meet yung mga leaders from Russia, from China, from, I don't know, yung mga ganyan style na bansa. But clearly, he was very excited to meet yung mga leaders from Western countries, to meet leaders. Wala yata siyang effort masyado i-meet yung mga, mga Chinese, Russian na yan. But, hindi lang siya nakipag-meet with President Biden. Hindi lang siya nakipag-meet with Prime Minister Kishida of Japan. Nag-meeting din siya, but dun sa mga ex-officials ng countries like UK. So for instance, look at this picture of Bongbong Marcos with Tony Blair. Naalala niya si Tony Blair, yung dating Prime Minister ng Britain? Mr. Not necessarily. Ito yung Prime Minister ng Britain na sobrang sikat dati, na parang ito yung version nila ng Bill Clinton. I mean, just look at how excited Marcos Jr. looks. Tingnan mo yung itsura ni Marcos. Sobrang excited to meet Tony Blair. I mean, you could clearly see, there's almost a giggle there. You could see how impressed they are. You could see also yung face ni Tony Blair na parang surprised siya na, wait, pinapansin pa rin ako. Medyo pasay na to eh. Tagal na yan wala sa power eh. Mga 20 years na wala sa power yan almost. So, dapat medyo laos na yan eh. But, nakikita nyo, pansin na pansin talaga ni Marcos. You can see how impressed he is, how much he was looking forward to that meeting. Of course, that's where you see the British Anglophile side of Marcos Jr. Of course, he's our first president who was UK educated as far as I know. Ayan, tingnan nito. So, see how different this is from Tatay Digong. Pag si Tatay Digong, forget about ex-prime minister, but yung mga prime ministers, mga current leaders ng Western countries, ina-avoid nila. Diba? I also saw pictures of our former UN Ambassador Manalo and current Foreign Secretary Manalo also posting pictures with Prime Minister of Netherlands, with other Western leaders. So this is a very, very, very different presidency. This is a very, very, very different foreign policy orientation. Pag si Tatay Digong yan, ang mga gusto niya i-meet, hindi mga Tony Blair. Ang gusto niya i-meet, alam na natin yan. Yan, tingnan yung mga gusto ni Tatay i-meet. Yan, hindi naman gigil ni Tatay. Ay, shoot! Tingnan mo. May Tatay, pag si Putin ang nakita niya, yun na, talagang, tingnan mo yung gigil na gigil. Tingnan mo yung si Tatay. Uy, diba? Pag si Tatay, mga ganyan ang gusto niya i-meet, diba? Tuwan-tuwa siya pag mga Putin, ayan, palagay din natin Xi Jinping. Nagtatrending kanina Xi Jinping kung ano-anong rumors na lumalabas na under house arrest daw siya, may coup daw yung mga kunyari, ganyan mga rumors. Ayan, no? Tignan talaga, tuwan-tuwa talaga si Tatay pag minimit yung mga leaders ng China, leaders ng Russia. Pero, pagdating kay Pangulong Marcos, even yung mga ex-leaders, yan, si Tony Blair, almost 2 dekada na wala sa power, you can see how much excited he is to meet these kinds of leaders. So that tells you na very different itong si Bongbong Marcos pagdating sa approach niya sa foreign policy. So yes, my uni team and all of that, there was of course a tactical alliance, but it looks like it's not as much a strategic alliance, more of a tactical alliance, right? That during elections, they found it convenient to team up together, but now that in power si Marcos Jr., he's striking a different course. He's striking a different course. That's a very interesting thing to watch out for. Now, ito ulitin natin na. So, nakikita natin dito sa interview ni Marcos Jr. So, yung mga glasses natin dyan. Nasaan yung isa? Right. So, nakikita natin talaga, he's very focused on reintroducing the Philippines, which I think is a more neutral term of saying rebranding the Philippines, which clearly is a recognition na may mga problema dun sa image of the Philippines, not to mention actual reality on the ground under the previous president. No? Not to mention, of course, him trying to deal with the baggage from his father's era. Ibang usapan na respect my opinion, my onion dito. Pero iba, internationally kasi, nagre-research po sila eh. Alam nila yung katotohanan. You know, they look at facts. They look at credible studies. They don't watch crappy, trashy junk food bloggers or fake newsers. I'm not sure how much they listen to Mang Jay's version of reality na paiba-iba, ng paleontology, mga ganun. Okay, so again so ito yung sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. His people went too far sometimes, referring to drug war ni Pangulong Duterte. We have seen many cases where policemen, other operatives, some were just shady characters that we didn't quite know where they came from and who they were working for. But now we have gone after them. So I think under DILG Secretary Abalos, nakita natin may mga speeches siya dyan sa online, pwede nyo tignan yan, whereby he really calls on the police forces, on the law enforcers, to follow the rule of law, to follow the procedures, as much as, of course, dapat tough tayo dun sa drug war. No? So that's the kind of balance that President Marcos Jr. is trying to draw. In fairness to President Marcos Jr., also nung election time pa lang, nung interview niya with Tito Boy Abunda, nakita natin, he was pushing for a more rehabilitation-oriented, a much more nuanced, a much more science-based, evidence-based approach na hindi bara-bara style ni Tatay Digong. Yun kasi yung problema eh. Even if I agree, now we have to deal with the drug war issue. I absolutely agree with that. Let's go for it. The means matter. The means matter. You know, as the philosophical expression goes, to get a fried chicken, you don't need to burn down the whole hen house. Pwede mo kunin yung manok, ganyan mo, separately lagay mo yung manok doon sa oven, right? Hindi mo kailangan i-burn down yung buong hen house para makakuha ka ng fried chicken. That's why means matter. Means shape ends. Kung palpak yung methods mo, kung bara-bara ka mag-isip, kung hindi ka matino mag-isip, kung hindi ka methodical, eto ang mangyayari. So, clearly President Marcos Jr. saying, of course I'm for the drug war, but ayaw ko yung bara-bara style. Gusto ko methodical. Gusto ko surgical approach. Gusto ko evidence-based. Gusto ko may rehabilitation approach. So, in fairness naman kay Marcos Jr., President Marcos Jr., he has been consistent on this issue since the election period. So, may mga parang na-shock dyan na, oh, bakit ganun. But actually, for people like me who have been trying to be fair and to be as objective as possible, looking at the evidence, the president has been consistent since the election period. And in fairness naman sa kanya, now he's more openly coming out in his international interviews saying na eto, President Duterte's people went too far sometimes. So may aminado siya na may mga bara-bara, excesses, if not abuses, happened already. Now, ibang usapan na yung sa ICC, anong gagawin dito, but at least we see that. Now, speaking of Tatay Digong and his legacy, etc., now, I think may lumabas na SWS survey na ang taas daw yung approval rating ni Tatay Digong, etc. Like, sana pwede pakainin sa taong bayan itong mataas na approval ratings. Sana pwede mag-compensate yan for all of the economic reversals, for the international linkages, damages, for all sorts of reversals we suffered in West Philippines, etc. Kung popularity contest lang, well, I can name you many very popular people who got their country into trouble, right? Including Vladimir Putin, right? Na napakataas ang approval rating sa Russia, and yet, look at Russia right now. It's isolated, it's heavily sanctioned, it's even being beaten by Ukraine, back to back to back to back. Ay nako, ay nako, ay nako. Kung sana lang popularity contest ang basihan. Ang buhay po, ay ang politika po, ang basihan po dapat dyan, economic growth. Ang basihan dapat dyan is law and order and rule of law. Ang basihan dapat dyan is did we make the most out of our relationship with other countries? Ayan tayo eh. Ayan tayo eh. So, speaking of Duterte legacy, right? Sige lang, hanggang popularity na lang sabihin natin. Sige, pag-usapan natin mga ibang bagay. Sige lang, wala akong problema. Let's go. Kamusta? Makano nakuha natin sa China? Ilang billion nga, doon sa 24 billion na pinangako kay tatay, ilang billion ang na-invest ngayon? O, ano na? Anong petsa na? Mag-2023 na? Nasaan na? Nasaan na? Pakita nyo. O, wala pala eh. Wala pala eh. Ayan tayo eh. Ayan tayo. Hi. O, nasaan yung mga big fish? Ilang big fish, yung totoong big fish ha? Hindi yung mga ano lang ha? Yung mga small time down na pinapa-big fish dahil mataba or something. Seriously. Ilang nahuli na really big fish? O, sige lang. O, sa oligarchs. O, sige, tingnan natin. Ilan oligarchs ang talaga nawala? Parang nadagdag pa nga nung iba eh, di ba? Alam niyo na sinong pangalan na ba natin? Ano? Ayan tayo eh. Purong performative kasi. Performative. Now, sadly, performatism sells. It's good for politics, but it's not good for the national interest. It doesn't create long-term objective improvements dun sa condition ng taong bayan. Now, to be fair naman, may mga improvements nangyari in some areas. For instance, I think on Bangsamoro, for instance, I would say infrastructure development, may mga nangyari at least on the provincial LGU level. I'll try to be fair. But if you want to bring this down to just popular contest, malaking issue ko dyan. Right? Malaking issue ko dyan. Now, balikan natin itong issue because pagdating sa legacy ni tatay, you see, from 2016 at least, if not earlier, until 2021 or 2020, you could say, yung issue ng drug war, actually, I would say yes, up until pandemic, yung issue ng drug war was very central to President Duterte's agenda. Now, once pandemic happened, ibang usapan is scrambling for effective response. No? Ayaw magpa-travel ban, then super daming lockdown, tuloy. One of the deepest recessions in Asia yung nangyari sa atin, in the world. Ay nako. Balikan ko yan ha. So for 3-4 years, ang ginawa lang nila is obsession dito. Ubusin to mga drogista daw, mga drug suspects. How many children got killed? How many ordinary people? How do we even know if these people were really guilty? And even if they were guilty, did they deserve to be treated that way? Paano yung mga bata? Paano yung mga orphans? Ayan ang problema kung bara-bara mag-isip eh. Hindi talaga planado, hindi methodical. Alam niyo yung story nung yung bear ba yan na may langaw dun sa ulo ng amo niya para tanggalin yung langaw dahil mahal na mahal yung amo niya. Kumuha siya ng malaking rock. Hinampas niya dun sa amo niya. Nakita niyo yan? Yung mga pagbata ka pa lang, yun ang tinuturo sa iyo eh. Na love should be operationalize it in the right way. Otherwise, you end up, parang ganun, diba? It's like the medicine ending up killing the patient. If mali yung prescription, if mali yung diagnostics, even if tama yung recognition na may problema, ayan tayo eh. Dapat tama yung diagnostics, tama yung prescription, tama yung therapy, tama yung response. At yan, kasi bara-bara, ayan. Ayan tayo eh. So, please lang wag niyo ipapaano sa atin yung mga popularity. Kung sana lang popularity was really the measure of success or measure of actual competence and merit, no? Kasi yun pong tinitignan natin eh. Now, of course, it's good to be popular. I'm not saying it's bad. But, now, speaking of legacy, for 3 to 4 years, puro silang mga ubusin yung mga drug suspect, criminal, blah, blah. Ngayon, iba na eh. Nag-shift na eh. So, nag-mutate na ito. I don't want to use the certain word to describe what's going on. There's a name for these kinds of movements, no? You know what I'm going to say, right? I don't want to go on and give a lecture from... Ay, nako. So, katulad na alam nyo, the other day, the Manila Regional Trial Court, nag-dismiss po siya ng isang 2018 petition to declare the Communist Party of the Philippines and its armed wing, the NPA, terrorist organization. No? Based on the argument that the NPA and CPP were waging a rebellion, insurgency, not a campaign of terrorism, ala ISIS, Abu Sayyaf, Bangsamoro, Islamic fighters, yung mga ganyan type. Mga terrorists yan. But these ones, there are more insurgency. No? So, yun po ang sinight ng korte na yan. Now we get to see how serious the situation is because may mga supporters ng dating administration who not only took issue with this, but one of them at least, went on and made an open threat, or hypothetical open threat against dito sa judge na yan. Pinost pa yata yung picture eh. I mean, ibang next level na yan, guys. Ibang next level na yan. Ito. So, ito. Tignan niyo na yung pangalan. Alam niya, it's not even worth saying the name of these people. Ayoko ipa-relevant pa tong mga to. Ay, sorry, nakita mo ba yung lobat? Ayan o. So, yung judge na who warned versus dangers ng red tagging dun sa dismissing of the case versus CPP-NPA, ngayon ay nare-red tag na siya ng former NTF-LCAC spokesperson. No? So, itong tao na to, I'm not gonna even waste my time saying. Sabi niya, kung patayin, if I kill this judge, right? And I do so out of my political belief that all allies of... kaya na magbasa. Ayoko ng yun. Ayan dito. Ipopost ko na yan. Tama ba yan? Guys, tama ba yan? Yung ganyan style? I mean, you are all right to disagree. Ako, I have disagreements with Tatay. Di ko have disagreements with... Sometimes with Marcos, etc. I have even disagreements with sila Lenny, etc. But come on, guys. Ibang usapan na yan. Yung i-threaten mo ng ganyan. So, what we're seeing right now, guys, is we went from this campaign of demonizing everyone suspected of being drug user, etc. Na zombie sila, that they're not humans, they're subhumans, that supposedly they should be treated this and that. From that campaign now, ang campaign ngayon is demonization and dehumanization of anyone progressive who may have even a slight shade of progressive radical thinking. Next level na yan eh. So yung intensity na nakita natin from 2016 to 2018-19, dun sa ubusin yan, mga drogista, mga drug criminal, ganyan. Ngayon napupunta na dito sa mga radicals, etc. And look at it. The way they're also attacking ngayon, si Ninoy Aquino is by trying to attach him dun sa mga komunista, mga radical, etc. Of course, si Ninoy Aquino ay isang politiko. Of course, he'll talk to different sides. Si Tatay Digong na nga, ang daming picture with mga di ba? So what? They're politicos. They play the game. They have to work with different power centers to build their base, to do tactical decision making. So, what we're seeing here is, I don't want to go into a lecture on, ay nako, mamaya na yan, ayoko ba i-intensify masyado yan. But what I'm saying is that medyo nakakatakot ng ganitong style na kung sinong, kahit may konting shade of radicalism or progressive ideals, gagawin mo na itatag mo sila na terrorista and all of that. Guys, nakakatakot yan. And you're dehumanizing them. You're you're glorifying violence against them, you're inciting violence. Nakakatakot yan. Kasi, at yun yung dangers ng right-wing populism eh. Because right-wing populism starts usually by attacking the elite, the business elite, political elite. Next thing you know, nagmutate na yan eh. Kasi amorphous yung definition of enemy of the people. Because the problem with right-wing populists is that they claim that sila lang talaga ang tunay na boses ng bayan. So anyone who doesn't agree with them or is on the other side, automatically maging enemy of the people. So first it could be big businessmen. First it could be liberal politicians. Next thing you know, it could be anyone from progressive background. All you get what I'm saying? Like nanganganak ng enemies yan, and we can see this mutation already happening from the extreme demonization of anyone suspected of being involved in the drug business, even yung mga small-time peddlers, small-time users, pinapamukha silang zombie. Ngayon is going to anyone who has a shade of progressive values and all. Nakakatakot na yan, guys. Nakakatakot yan because, di ba, tatulad ng isang first they came for Jews, then they came for communists, then they came, you gotta say, you know that quote, diba? That very famous quote about Germany in the 1930s and 40s, no? It starts there and then nanganganak yan eh, yung demonization of anyone except them eh. So, nakita ko nga, pati si Ma'am Carlos, Professor Carlos, I've had disagreements with her. Of course, she's one of my mentors too. And I think it's pretty normal to have disagreements. But in fairness naman to her, in my interview with the National Security Advisor, Clarita Carlos, and also in her conversations, and also in her statements, very clear po siya na kailangan talaga ng comprehensive multidimensional approach sa national security and insurgency. Hindi pwede bara-bara hammer lang. Ba't siya kinikriticize? For pointing out a basic sensible thing. A basic fact that everyone with functioning mind, anyone with some basic training, especially social scientists, knows about, no? At ako, nung nag-comment ako dun sa isang mga propaganda websites na, sige lang, yung mga pa-post, patayin lahat, mga ano yan. Saka, kung yun lang sana ang solusyon, di ba? Hindi eh. Hindi yun ang solusyon eh. It's much more complex. Ang daming nag-respond sa akin. Pero yung comment ko, naka 4,000 likes na. Ayan, tuloy. So, yun po yung concern natin dito, na if this is left to itself, manganganak yan na manganganak ng demonization and more groups of people. At nakakatakot na yan. We know what happens when right-wing populism goes to its logical extreme. You don't believe me? Ask the Italians, the Germans, and you know where this conversation is going, right? Hi. Galing lang ako sa Italy, di ba, last week. Believe me, pinag-aralan ko yung background ng Italy, yung political background nila, because itong new party na pwede manalo sa Italy ngayon, kay Meloni, related yan sa party ng Mussolini, alright? So, I was in the birthplace of that ideology that starts with the word F, right? Pinag-aralan ko po ng mabuti yan, alright? Ay, nako. Okay. Ibang level na yan, guys. Ibang level. Nakakatakot yung ganun. Kasi if this is left to itself, mag-mutate yan ng mag-mutate. Mamaya. Tapos yung conspiracy theory na sila Ninoy, mga dilaw, tapos yung mga pula, lahat nagsasama-sama. Come on, that's very... Punta lang kayo sa Italy, ma-explain nila sa'yo saan galing yung ganyan style. Ayan. Mag-stop na tayo. Hi. Okay, let me stop here, guys. May class pa ako. I still need energy for my other, So, on one hand, let me say, I have had my shares of disagreement with the president on their interpretation of the past, even denialism, etc. But I support the more nuanced take of our current president on the drug war, and I'm a part of me is welcomes. I mean, I welcome the fact that the president has pointed out that there were excesses and some big mistakes dun sa conduct of drug war niyan. And I'm glad that he's at least signaling that something has to be done about it. I'm glad that President Marcos Jr. is also recognizing the need for rebranding the country in light of the very negative opinions about us because of that bara-bara drug war and all sorts of other shenanigans in the past. To be fair also, hindi lang naman pwede mo sisisihin si Pangulong Duterte. Marami rin mga mali yung mga dating administrations, right? So at least there's a recognition that we have to do something here to regain the trust of the international community, the respect of international community, and also create a semblance of rule of law dito sa ating bansa. I think that's a good thing, and I'll support that as long as this is sincere, as long as this is going to produce a much more humane, evidence-based, and effective and sustainable solution dun sa mga iba't ibang suliranin ng ating bayan. Kasama po dyan yung, of course, yung problema sa mga pinagbabawal na droga, pero may mga mas komplikadong problema pa tayo. I believe that the President should also welcome the advice by National Security Advisor Clarita Carlos, a lot of other experts who are saying the best solution dun sa problema, whether sa Mindanao, sa insurgency with the communists, etc., is also a multidimensional, human security-oriented approach. Hindi bara-bara, hindi, alam niyo na, fill in the blanks. Okay, let's keep it there. Medyo intense yung conversations natin today. There's so much more I want to say, pero parang feeling ko, let's just, there's time for everything. There's time for love, there's time for peace, there's time for letting it all out. But a part of me is really worried with the direction of this. So, alam ko tayo mga Pinoy, mabait tayong tayo. Mahal natin ang bayan natin. We just want the best for our country. Kaya please, let's make sure, guys, let's make sure na these kinds of nonsense will not mutate and expand and expand. Because kawawa po tayong lahat if this thing keeps on mutating. Mamaya, kahit sino hindi mag-agree sa kanila, ay biglang demonize na. Hindi pwedeng ganon, guys. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Yun lang. Delix yan. Kasi kung magganyan sila, di magganyan doon yung iba, wala na. Finish na tayo. Tapos na usapan. Ay, nako. Sige. Thank you so much talaga sa inyo. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much kay Ma'am Jocelyn Lumberio for always asking about us, for prayers. Thank you so much, guys, also dun sa prayers for my dad. Thank God na na po siya na nakauwi na po siya, wala na siya sa hospital. So 5 days po yata siya nasa hospital, and also sorry. Ito na. Kailangan ko ng mga vitamins ulit. So thank you very much dun sa mga prayers niyo and support. I really appreciate it. Thank you kay Joko Cordero. Thank you kay Eden Olonan. Thank you kay Senan Makalala. Thank you, Salamat Mike. Thank you kay Rizani as always. Kay Mitch Tengshe. Ito mga talaga mga minamahal natin mga supporters. Joel Villanueva, thank you very much. Uy, para sa kanyang name ni di ba? Ni Senador Tere Sawai, kay Helen Theresa, kay Michael Uy, kay Elizabeth Chua, is it Chua or Kwa? Leaf Sunny Day, Noemi Tablate, Don James, Rolly Francia, Arwin Rubio, Jeneline Udela. Thank you so much kay Angin Tino. Thank you sa lahat ng mga nag-comments, nag-support sa atin. I know you guys who are watching me are coming from different standpoints. Some of you talagang walang strong political opinions. Some of you have strong political opinions ay na medyo iba sa akin, or medyo tugma sa akin, or medyo tugma or iba sa akin, depending on the issues. But I see the effort for you guys to listen, to engage, etc. So I really appreciate it. Mukhang napapagod na ako. Okay, so I have to take some vitamins and all and get back kasi may class pa ako mamaya. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Maraming salamat sa mga prayers niyo for my dad, and also my prayers for your family and loved ones. Yung mga may sakit, yung mga gusto mag-recover, kailangan mag-recover. My love and appreciation and prayers for you. Maraming salamat, and please continue to support us. Marami pong umaatake sa atin. Marami pong nagbabastos sa atin. I'm getting all of these comments na naman. Kung sino-sino mga walang iya ay nagme-message sa atin ng kung ano ng walang kwentang bagay. Ayoko ng patulan. So, your support, your love, your stars, all of those things give us the strength, the determination, and inspiration to go on. Tao lang po tayo. Isang simple lang po tayong tao. So, without your support and all, it would be very difficult for us to continue this fight for truth, for justice, for freedom, for a better Philippines, which we all want for our country. Ang tanong lang dito, which is the best way to get us to the promised land? Yun lang naman yung question, guys. So maraming salamat. Thank you very much. God bless. Have a blessed weekend, and God willing, talk to you on Monday. Please spend good time with your family, loved ones. And make the most out of your Sabbath day tomorrow. May you have a spiritual and and a godly day tomorrow. God bless. Thank you very much. Adios.